Welcome to the Geek Girl Story Salon, where I talk to creatives from across disciplines and across the world about the art of storytelling. I'm your host, Jen Jackalone, lifelong storyteller and head geek in charge. Fun fact, I took a DNA test, and it turns out I'm 100% that geek. We have an amazing season in the chute, so please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Keep up on all the brain food coming your way. My guest today is in the new season of Sweet Tooth, dropping on Netflix June 6th, but you probably know her best from her role in one of the best sci-fi franchises of the last decade, The Expanse. Buckle up, Beltalowda, because your captain, Kamina Drummer, is in the house. Welcome to the show, Cara Gee.
What an intro. Thank you so much. That's a belter speech you just did. That was like, I'm like stomping my foot along with that. Like, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about, was I gonna do the thing, and I was like, all right, maybe, yeah, I'm a little too, I'm not cool enough for that, I don't think.
I think you are actually. Oh yeah. That was
Wow.
great.
Cool. So I definitely want to talk about Drummer and The Expanse because she's an icon, or a bicon, if you will.
I will, and then
Um,
some.
but but first, and I know you probably have limits about what you can say, but can you tell us anything about Sweet Tooth?
Let me tell you how the season ends. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, what can I tell you? I can tell you about my experience
Okay.
shooting Tooth, which was um, one of the craziest things I've ever done in my life. I had just had a baby, and I started shooting when my baby was 8 weeks old, which is a wild feat of endurance and sleep deprivation.
Mhm.
And I live in LA, and we shot in New Zealand. So I basically just like dragged my placenta across the globe and and shot a whole season. So, which is, I feel like, just in this industry, in any industry, having children and being a woman, it's a complicated dance. And I was just so thrilled that, first of all, that I was like 8.5 months pregnant when I first auditioned, and they were like, "Are you sure you want to?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, I have a supportive family. My husband came with me, and and it was actually really the production was extremely supportive. I hired a nanny in New Zealand named Jess, who was like Mary Poppins. I love her so much. She was so helpful. I couldn't have done it without her, because I would bring my baby to set with me, and I would nurse him, uh, during the setups, and then Jess would take him and like push him around in the stroller until he fell asleep, um, while I was shooting the actual scene. And there were times where production was waiting on me, being like, okay, she's like breastfeeding a baby, and the scene has to wait because there's this small human. Uh, so it was this really collaborative process, a really incredible process as a woman and a mother, and to have the support of the production to do that was next level. It was wild. And I think that it actually contributed to the sense of community on set. And um, Jess would say, whenever things are getting stressful, I just walk the baby around because everyone loves a baby. So it was a really magical experience. And of course, there's children in the story. So I think having a baby on set all the time was just created that an extra layer to that sense of family that I think
Hmm.
is what makes the show so special.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was a huge fan of the first two seasons, and I got real excited when I saw you were going to be in the third season. So,
Oh, thank you. I hope that it's a very different character from Drummer.
yeah.
Like, very, very different. She's definitely her name is Sienna, and she is definitely badass. But she's a mother,
Okay.
which Drummer would never, would not ever have children. So that right there, I think, is a huge difference between those two characters. Massive difference,
Yeah.
massive
Yeah.
difference. So
Oh, cool. Well,
yeah.
I can't wait to see it. I'm like beside myself. So, all right. This show is about story primarily. That's what I like to talk about here. So
Mhm.
let's pretend that we meet at a cocktail party or at like a, I don't know, wedding. We're standing in the drink line making small talk, and
Mhm.
I say, so what's your story?
Yeah.
What do you tell me in that 5 minutes that we're standing there in the drink line as
I
a relatively harmless seeming nice person that you're
Yeah. I think the first thing I would say, I would be like, girl, you gotta buy me a drink first. Uh, but we're in the drinks line, so you've taken care of that. We're at a wedding. I think if I had to tell you what my story was, I mean, I'm from a really small town called Cajun, which is an Ojibwe word that means shallow rapids. And there were no other Ojibwe people who lived there. It was a super white small town, um, made famous by a Canadian band called the Tragically Hip. They released this song called Bob Cajun that really put us on the map, which is funny because it's a super, super, super small town. And I grew up actually like just outside of Bob Cajun in a small place called Nogies Creek. So, and I have a younger brother, and we spent our childhood just like frolicking in the forest. Um, and I'm so grateful for that experience because I think that, we didn't have TV. There was no, we didn't have any channels. There were no channels that came. Every now and then with like a fuzzy antenna, you could get The Simpsons. There was a lot of hockey.
yeah.
Um,
You're the
uh,
rabbit ears.
you know it.
Oh yeah.
And uh and so yeah, so I had this very magical childhood just full of imagination and play. And I think that probably looking back on everything, that's why what led me to becoming an actor. Yeah, and just making shit up to entertain yourself. Storytelling,
Right.
making shit.
Making shit up. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
that's what it is.
Um, it's a pretty cool job, no?
I am so glad that I get to do this job. Yeah, very grateful for that. Do you know, I had a high school teacher. I was on track to do um something completely different. And I thought I would be like behind the scenes in the music industry. That was my passion, was just like music.
Hmm.
Um
I'm gonna
and
ask more about that later, but go on.
great, great, great. And uh and then it was in my final year of high school, actually. I had this high school teacher, Michael Halfin, and I ended up at this. I went to a few different high schools. I got kicked out of a high school, which is very silly to think about now. It's a long
Mhm.
story. I was a good kid. Like I was on student council. I was a really good kid, but I was also a bad kid.
Mhm.
In just, all the fun ways. So I ended up at this art school and I needed an extra credit. So I took this high school drama class 'cause I thought it would be easy. And and then Mr. Halfin made it feel possible to have just like a regular, degular, schmegular career as an actor. Like, I think when I thought of acting, I thought of being famous and making movies, and that was never my ambition or interest.
Mhm.
But he made it feel possible to just be like a regular theater actor. Like you don't have to be famous to be an actor. It can just be a regular job. And so that I was like, oh, that would be a fun job to have. That would be really cool. So it was from that point on that I decided to pursue. I went to university and trained in theater and then worked in theater for a long time before film and TV came
Yeah,
knocking on the door.
yeah. Do you miss theater?
No,
No?
you know what? I did a play not that long ago,
Mhm.
and like actually had a bit of a nightmare experience with an acting a scene partner who was like violent and nuts, and it was this like nightmare experience. And you have to do it every night. I feel like I have had very beautiful experiences working in theater. The vast majority has been just like an incredible experience, but you are locked in, and it is every single night, and there can be a lot of joy in that, but also, I mean, not bar scene partner aside, um, it's really terrifying in a whole different kind of way. Once you start doing film and TV and you're like crafting these stories and you have this space to do it, the stakes are high. You know that the camera represents the audience and that, tens of people are watching the finished product, but a live audience every night. I was like, oh boy, this should pay better for how hard it is. Because it's like your whole life, your whole day revolves around it.
Hmm.
Like what you eat during the day is a factor, how you sleep. Like it's just a very different life. It's a very different life.
Yeah.
It's
And
very
like,
poor. I was very poor when I worked in theater too, which is interesting to think about just that time. And yeah, it's a grind. It's beautiful. There's something really like poetic and beautiful about it. But no, I don't miss it. I love what I get to do now. I love that the stories that I tell reach more people. I love that you get to piece together, like when you shoot things out of order and you get to do the jigsaw puzzle of how that works, how the scenes are going to flow together, how you craft that arc. I think that is really, I love that work. I love that. Yeah. It
and
feels
that
more,
must be
yeah.
interesting to watch the finished product because you haven't necessarily been going in a straight line.
Exactly. And editing is a magical, magical art form too, right? Like you do multiple takes and you put it all on the table and then you get to watch it like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna put this all together. It's yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful
Excellent.
art form. Yeah.
So how do you think about, because you've done film and you've done theater and TV, like how do you think about the actor in the storytelling process? Like how do you think about the actor's role in all of that?
Do you know, I think it depends on the project, what your role is. Um, it's super interesting to think about because my first TV show, I was the number one lead on it, which I had no idea even what that meant.
Mm.
Um, and it was called Strange Empire. It was a Western on CBC. Incredible experience. I'm so proud of the show. Actually, I got to meet Richard de Klerk, who I ended up marrying and having children with in real life. He played my husband on the show, so that was cool. Um, And yeah, it was a great group of people. Terry Chen, actually, who shows up as Prax in The Expanse, he's on Strange Empire. So I got to know him out there, which was very cool. Um, but we only went one season. It didn't really fit at the network. We had our showrunner, who's an amazing, amazing writer. Um, while we were shooting, her husband was really sick and ended up passing away. And so she wasn't really around. And I didn't know what a showrunner was even really at the time. And I didn't really know what my role in the process was. It was it was a pretty disjointed process looking back on it, although I had no idea at the time. Um, really proud of how it turned out in the end. I think it's a gorgeous little one season of a show. Um, but then I got the job on The Expanse, and working with Narain was eye-opening to how the process could go. There, I cannot imagine working with a showrunner more invested than Narain. Um, and and he also just let everyone do their job. He hired really smart, really creative, really talented people. And so everyone had this freedom He wasn't trying to micromanage. He guided, so everyone knew that we were in the same world. He was such an incredible leader in that way, and it gave everyone a real sense of ownership over their work. So it was also just this magical combination of actors and writers having Ty and Dan be such a huge part of the process. Like this is their brains, their world, their baby. So, and they were very present the whole time and accessible to all of us. So if you had a question, we would do these rehearsals and read-throughs in our own time, and everyone cared so much. So if you had a question or a thought that you wanted to share, everyone was really accessible. And because of that sense of ownership, our ideas were heard. It was a place where the best idea would win. And so my role as an actor was very deep because I had such a responsibility. If I was speaking these words, it's because I had to really feel them and know that they were true. And especially as an Indigenous woman, I'm Ojibwe, leading the Belters. There's so many parallels between the oppressed underclass of that group and what my experience as a First Nations woman has been. And so there was a good deal of my soul and myself that, it was important to get that right and to represent that story, within the world of The Expanse, of course. You can't do that unless you've got some lived experience to bring to the table. And so I did that, and I felt supported to do that in this project. It was very, I learned so much about what an actor can be. And now I get to bring that forward to every project that I work on from now on.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
So, what, like a lot of times when an actor gets to play a character for a while, they talk about having learned something from them. Do you think you learned something from Drummer?
Much.
Yeah.
Much. If nothing else, how to do like a killer smoky eye. That bitch does not fuck around. It was neat too because Verity, who was my makeup artist for the last few seasons, she just like killed it. She brought that makeup to the next level. Like I feel like it evolved as the show went on. So I did really learn some hot tricks from her. She's wickedly talented, and funny and smart, and like also going to take over the world as a producer. And yeah, she's just an amazing talent. So yes, I learned that. I also, oh my God, the show was like, it was actually like quite grueling. Like the helmets are heavy, it's hot, it's uncomfortable. I was like fucking pregnant the whole time. It feels like I was shooting that show. I was super pregnant during season 5, I guess, and then had a small baby while we were shooting season 6. So I was just like, I was super pregnant when I shot the video game. Like I just have been pregnant drummer the whole time. It's so weird because she would never. But being drummer, you cannot wuss out on anything. Like I remember there was this one time where we had one of the fellow actors, we were doing this scene with the helmets, and I was like 7.5 months pregnant, like round pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was balanced on this little like bicycle seat green screen thing. We were like floating through an airlock. And one of our fellow actors started to have like a panic attack because it's claustrophobic. You can't hear anything. There's fans going in the helmet to keep your visor from fogging up. So you can only hear through an earpiece, even if someone's right in front of you. It's hot, the lights, it's a very like disorienting experience. And I remember looking at that actor and being like, oh yeah, that's like a very normal response to this. Like, but as drummer, you just can't. You
Mm-mm.
just can't. Like you don't waver. You don't like I felt, especially over the course of the season as we were
Mm.
in the polyam belter fam, like uh I just felt I had to be so strong and I had to lead, um, so that, developed my grit.
Mm.
Sure. Like it was,
Sort of found that within yourself.
yeah, like you got to dig deep. Like you can't fuck around playing drummer.
Yeah.
Like you cannot fuck around. She
Yeah.
demands, she demands a certain level of like, you can't be like, oh, I'm hot, my feet. Even if you want to, you can't. So
No.
that was, yeah, that was an amazing experience actually. So I
Yeah.
learned from her.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty valuable lesson. I mean, seriously, like if our kids were the same age and like got into beef on the playground, I would not want to have to come to that school meeting with you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. She's in there. She's in there.
Yeah. And then um I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the parts of you that you brought to drummer.
Sure. Um, it's so funny because on the show with our fellow actors, we're all like, we were all a bit like, okay, yeah, we kind of are these characters, like kind of. And I always am like, I'm so different than a drummer. And I will never forget. I was sitting with Dom and Steven,
Mhm.
and Steven was kind of joking about me being so different from drummer. And
Mhm.
I went, I forget Dom being like, fuck, she isn't though, actually. Like Kara is drummer like that. She is that. And Dom has become one of my very, very best friends. Um, and Frankie too. They're Auntie Dom and Auntie Frankie to my kids. So I think that it's funny because I feel like drummer's sense of humor is so dry and I'm much more quick to laugh. But um,
Yeah, I think we saw drummer smile maybe once.
I know she was having a hard time. I know. Um, I'll tell you a story that I've never told anyone
Oh.
publicly
Mm.
because it's really nuts. Um, when I was in university, I was studying acting in Windsor, Ontario, which is right across the river from Detroit. It's a rough place. I was doing the scene study class, and you have to bring your own props from home. And so you've got like this, I had a laundry basket full of props that I'm like lugging, and it was a long walk to and from, and it snowed. I was trudging through the snow with this laundry basket of props. And I was living in this basement apartment,
Mm.
and the class had ended. I was bringing the props home, and I got home and I set the laundry basket down and I was looking for my key. And this guy opened the door from inside my apartment. And I was just had this moment of like, you must be here with my landlord, like trying to figure out who this guy was. And we locked eyes. And I'll never forget the moment that he pushed past me and started to run like he had broken into my house. And he started to run up the stairs by me. And in that moment, and I would do this differently, and I'm not advocating for anyone to behave this way, um, that fight or flight just flipped. And I grabbed him by the shoulders from behind and started shaking him as hard as I could and just screaming, get the fuck out of my house. Get the fuck, like with that full voice, full rage of like, how dare you? And I didn't even realize that he had a bunch of stuff under his arms that he was trying to steal. I didn't even see that. That wasn't like why I was doing it, but he dropped it all and he started to fall backwards down the stairs. And I remember the first clear thought that I had was, if this guy falls down the stairs, I'm going to have to kick him in the head till he doesn't get up. And I don't want to kill anyone. So I let go and he ran away. And then I was like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? He got away with nothing. I wasn't even sure what to do. I phoned my brother and he was like, can you hang up the phone and call 911 right now? Like, phone the police. Like, and I was like, oh, right. If this guy comes back, like, I'm
Right.
fucked.
Right.
So I like sat like waiting for the police to show up, which is weird. Like, there's nothing they can do at that point. Uh,
You even sleep that night?
Do you know what? And it was such a creaky apartment building. I don't think I slept for a long time. It was such a weird, but I ended up with this like kind of like Superman complex where I was like, I'm so tough. Like I felt like I wasn't, like it took me a long time to wrap my brain around the fact that I like was victimized in that because I felt so triumphant about like
Hmm.
defending my,
Yeah.
so, so there is this like in a moment like that, there's this like what you're made of kind of is tested, and it was not entirely surprising that was in there, but I feel like as an actor I was like, whoa, that I really connected with a part of myself that I have never been, like that was a this like traumatic moment that I like kind of triumphed in. It's a very interesting thing. So I do feel like that feeling, there's a lot of drummer in that
Mm-hmm.
feeling of like abso-fucking-lutely not. Like I don't care how small I am. I will fuck you up, but I will grant you mercy. Also, like I didn't want so yeah, so there's that. I feel like that story
Hmm.
is, I mean, I take it with me in everything that I do,
Right.
right? But I feel like Drummer was like right there.
Like when you had to reach into yourself and find something for that character, that was like a thing that you could reach for. And
Yeah, that
yeah,
was very present, I think, in all of her
wow.
feeling, in her feeling for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because you have a friendly or a smiling demeanor doesn't necessarily mean that, there isn't a,
Don't fucking break into my house. Don't fucking, I won't kill you, but I'll think about it. It's crazy, eh? It
yeah,
is, yeah.
yeah. Well, that guy was lucky. You could have stomped his head in.
Could have. Didn't want to. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, definitely bringing that to drummer. I feel like also just like, um, uh, I had watched the first season of The Expanse
Mhm.
before I auditioned to play drummer. I had actually just finished watching the first season the week before I got the call to audition, which was really crazy. So, I mean, I brought my appreciation of the show too. You know, I was very aware of what the world was that I was joining and was like,
So,
yeah.
so you're one of us, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, not kind of.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, like that. I was really into the show. Like when I got the part, I had to go in the day before so I could geek out over the set so that my first day I could do my job. Like I was like, I gotta go look at this because I don't want to show up and be like action. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm here. Look at it, it's the Rossi. So like, yeah, I did a tour of the set
Mm,
dance of that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. Man, I have to tell you, like, there were a lot of drummer moments that, had me like internally screaming at the TV. Um,
Mhm.
but like I loved that first scene with her and Avasarala when they meet on the station. Like that was just like I mean, for us in the audience, it was like, you
Oh
know,
yeah. Yeah. For me too. I
yeah.
thought I get to finally do a scene with Shohreh. Like I didn't I joined the show in season 2 and I didn't meet her until the rap party.
Really?
Yeah, we were never together. I never, that was it. That was it.
Wow.
So, oh yeah. And then it's like, oh, you're gonna act opposite Shohreh. Like, oh God, I gotta step my game up. She's really good.
Yeah, she's the queen. Actually, can I tell you a funny story?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so I was late to the party with the show,
Yeah,
and
that
like,
exists forever. So it's cool.
what's that?
It exists forever. You can start it anytime.
Well, that's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was late to the party with the show, and I somebody was musing out loud on Twitter. Back
Hmm.
Twitter. They were musing out loud on Twitter. I wonder if I should start watching The Expanse. And I replied to it and I said, yeah, I've been admiring Avasarala's wardrobe from afar. I'm wondering the same thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Honestly, I
Hmm.
think her clothes were like half the reason that I was even thinking about it. And we didn't we didn't tag her, we didn't tag the show, like nothing. She appeared on our thread and said, just start watching the show. I was like, okay, Queen.
Okay, I guess if you say so.
I
Oh
guess
my
I'm watching
God.
the show now.
So funny.
And that's how I started watching the show.
I mean, you would have to. You had no choice then. You're
The,
like, I
the
have to
Queen
watch.
arrived and gave her command. So what am I gonna do?
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's super funny.
Yeah,
Classic show, right?
yeah. You did great. I mean, you did amazingly though. You held that scene with her. Was there like prep you had to do for that?
Oh my God. Well, she like doesn't blink. Watch her. She doesn't like, and it's a trick, right? Like the more you blink, the more kind of you can feel disconnected from someone on a show, right? So you want that like your way into the actors through their eyes. So she's this like expert. She's got these like gorgeous, big, beautiful eyes, and she's not blinking. And I wear contacts, and they do like atmosphere, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna fucking blink during the scene either. So I'm like, this is
Yes,
like,
use it. Use it.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Like I have to meet this woman on her level, and
Yeah.
it's a tall
Wow.
order. So
Yeah. Well, but you did it, so hats off.
thank you.
I
Pretty,
don't.
pretty proud of it. It's pretty cool.
You should be. I mean,
The writing is like,
um,
ah, like,
but look, I'm a writer. I cannot do what you do. Like how you do what you do is just like a mystery for me.
there. Likewise.
You know. So it's
Likewise.
like it's like I get excited when I see two people who are really like coming in at that level. It's like it's woo, get that thrill.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
so yeah, well, I'm a fan. Um, so what do you have? Are there any stories that are out there, whether it's maybe something that you've read or whatever? Is there anything out there that you would really just give anything to be a part of the telling?
Yeah, do you know what I loved so much that I'm actually so sad that I never got to be a part of was that Res Dogs show? That was so good. I hoped that it would go on for 100 million seasons so that I could like eventually maybe be in it.
I was
Uh,
so sad that it
oh,
ended at
I
three.
know.
They did the story that they wanted to do, so I understood why they had to end it, but I
Yeah,
was like,
but I just want to keep existing in this world with you. Yeah, I loved that. I loved that. Um,
you know, I,
and also, I think that as we, have more Indigenous stories represented, I mean, the that's a pretty valuable perspective as the empire crumbles here, right? Like that outsider, what history has been written over and is now emerging. This is a very valuable point of view. Like we should all be listening and paying attention.
yeah. Well, I mean, it was wild because, I went into Killers of the Flower Moon with, yeah, yeah, I came out of it like a little annoyed about the way certain things were presented, but, I went into it really riveted because there was this whole chunk of time that I never really heard anything about.
Mm.
And, just the idea that there were all these white guys like jockeying to marry these rich, you know,
Wild, huh?
it's like, oh, they didn't teach us this in school. You know,
No.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? I haven't seen it. I
Really?
don't know if okay, so I should say I
Mhm.
have a 4-year-old daughter and I have not watched basically anything since she's been born. So I've taken a little like dip out of
Yeah.
like my bed
Mhm.
very early, wake up very early. Not a lot of time for watching much.
No,
Um, although I have seen Encanto.
probably
Well,
25.
which is great. It's actually great. Great, great, great.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm just not sure if I need that energy. I don't know if that story is for me. I don't know if I need to sit through that, you know?
yeah.
I don't know if I need to. I'm very aware of how Native women have been treated in the world. I don't know if I need that in my life right now. I don't know if it's for me.
That's a absolutely valid position to take.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Certainly, I know there are definitely things that I have no interest in seeing. Um,
yeah,
when it
yeah.
comes to entertainment. Uh,
Yeah. You're like, I
um,
know that story actually. This is for
yeah,
someone else who doesn't know the story yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, and it's just like, I felt I had what, like, for example, like Game of Thrones.
Mm.
I
Hmm.
felt like I had an abusive relationship with that show.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um, and I decided to not do the spin-off show because I just couldn't get myself into another abusive relationship with a TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Time is precious.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
your time to matters. I'll tell you a funny story though. I didn't watch Game of Thrones
Okay.
except for the last season, which is like the dumbest. Like I fucked up.
Yeah.
But I watched the finale
Mhm.
um, with a group of people. It was really fun, sort of. Everyone was really upset. I wasn't. But I was not invested. But I was like, I need to talk to someone who knows this show so that I can know a little bit about what's happening. And there was this time where Dom and I were on a flight together, and she said, and she told me the whole story of Game of Thrones from the beginning. So that's my experience of Game of
Oh,
Thrones, is having it narrated by Dominic Tipper.
that's amazing.
Honestly,
I,
would recommend
I
that.
wish there was video of that.
Yeah.
A close second would be, and unfortunately, it only encapsulates about the first 6 seasons, so you'd still need Dom to do like the seventh for you. But somebody made an amazing recap video of the first 6 seasons, narrated by Samuel L. Jackson.
God, that's so funny. That's funny. That's great.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
a lot
Perfect.
about motherfucking dragons.
I mean, yeah, that's it.
That's
That's
it.
not similar to the version that I got from Dom, I'll tell you.
Fair enough. So like I know like with your 4-year-old, the TV is hard, like just
Mhm.
consuming stuff is hard. Is there anything that you've been consuming lately that kind of does it for you or
Oh no, absolutely not. I'm like, I'm very, very grateful. My kids have like great taste in music, thank God. Thank God, because I feel like that could go either way. And there's nothing like they just like what they like. And somehow they like find the Coco Melon shit. Like they just find it. You're like, how did you even know? Like, how did you get into my phone? Like, what is happening right now? Um, so they've been like exposed to that, but they continue to have like very excellent taste in music, which is great. So my uh actually when I was shooting Sweet Tooth, the Rihanna Super Bowl halftime show, that was when that came out.
Mhm.
And my 4-year-old girl was like about that. Like she wanted to be called Rihanna for a while, which was really funny because she would introduce herself that way. And I'd be like, I didn't name her Rihanna. But like, okay. So so we watched that like hundreds of times, the Rihanna Super Bowl halftime show. And now this year we watched the Usher one. And my son, like one of his first words has been Usher. So uh, he just wants to watch that over and over, which I'm like, you know what? This is actually like excellent. Like if you're gonna watch a music video, like these Super Bowl halftime shows. So I'm really into the Super Bowl halftime shows, which is so weird.
Well,
But it's great.
yeah.
Really good.
Do you have, or do your kids have any bedtime stories that they particularly enjoy? Do you have favorite stories?
Oh, we are a big, big, big book story family. Um, my girl actually already she can read. It's a
Nice.
trip. She's
Yeah.
a trip. She's been reading for a while. It's crazy. So what are we reading these days? There's the Fancy Nancy series that she's big into. That's very cool. We're like I love a good Fox in Socks, but I think that's more me. My husband loves a green eggs and ham. He does a really good green eggs and ham. Um, my son, there's a book about tractors. It is funny, the gender thing, like having a girl and a boy, like I have not done anything to like
You're,
I'm not in I never put her in pink or him in, like I know like everything has been pretty uh accessible,
Mhm.
but he is into cars and trucks, like just wants to read a book about the construction equipment. Like I'm like, yeah,
Okay.
sure. Get it. But they're very gendered and they're like stereotypically gendered in their preferences. It's just really funny. Uh yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
I'm like whatever. Although he does love to wear a dress,
All right.
which is cute and very into that.
Yeah. Yeah, my big guy, when he was about 5 or 6, he was in a phase where he wanted me to put nail polish on him.
Oh yeah, great,
It was
great.
like blue nail polish.
It's so cool. Why should only ladies get to do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat.
We went out to the pizzeria one night and he had on the blue nail polish and some Mardi Gras beads and a stormtrooper helmet.
My hero. That's amazing.
It's my guy.
I like the sound of him.
So, okay. Um, I've heard that you used to organize punk concerts. Is that
Yeah.
yeah, so you still a punk rocker? Is that still like part of your
So I would put on these punk shows. They were amazing. We'd get like hundreds of kids to show up. It was when I was in high school. It was such a fun era of my life. What a great chapter. That's why I thought I was going to go into like music, the music
Mhm.
behind the scenes. I thought I'd be like a cool PR woman. That's what I thought I would be,
Mhm.
um, which would have been really fun. But yeah, I was always more like like metal, like rock kind of on that side of things. The punk stuff was like more, I think, because that's what was um there were like more punk bands
Mhm.
in high school, like those, you know what I'm saying? So but yeah, I was always more into the metal side of things. Like I love it, I love Tool. I actually
Oh,
went when we were shooting season 5, I was super pregnant and Tool played in Toronto while we were shooting, and I went and I was like, I hope this is okay for this baby in my belly. But it was awesome. It was just like, yes. Um,
yeah, it's fun. Like I had to have the same phone call with my doctor when I was pregnant with my big guy, and like somebody bought us Def Leppard tickets.
yeah, yeah, you gotta go. You
Like,
gotta go.
is this okay?
Yeah. And I think it is. Like, I think that they just like feel the vibration of it. Like,
There's layers of
yeah. Oh, yeah. This not gonna hurt their ears. Yeah, they're swimming in a sack of goo.
they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine. If anything, it's enriching their experience, I feel.
See, there you go. Enrichment. There's
Yeah.
more enrichment in the enclosure.
Oh my God, we're such good moms. We're such good moms. So I was Tool. You know what, my favorite at that time, this is like definitely dating myself, but I feel like Deftones, they were my number one favorite. I've seen them in concert many, many times.
Right.
Um, I liked Glassjaw. They were like
Oh, okay.
I was actually just listening to them the other day in the car and I was like, oh fuck yes, this is great. Um, yeah, but I was also like a big like Tori Amos, Kate Bush woman. I love the Kate Bush renaissance that happened due to Stranger Things. Like I was like, this is great. Now I'm listening to Kate Bush in the grocery store. Like
Yep. Yep.
teenage me would have been like probably annoyed, but adult me is like, yes, this is great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about that's cool is that I think it's one of the best uses of a pop song in a scene that
Oh yeah, I haven't actually seen it, but I can appreciate, like I'm vaguely familiar with the story and I obviously know the song really well. So
but just like the way that the scene was put together and how they used the song in it was just like, made my head explode. It was like,
cool.
so I was really excited, like when, because I don't think ever that song went to number one when that happened, and I don't think it
Yeah,
actually was a number one when it was
when
released.
it came out. Yeah. That's so cool. So cool.
Yeah, it was just like, wow, okay, so Kate Bush is on the radio, and there's
Great.
Top Gun in the theater, and we're in a proxy war with Russia. Cool, it's 1984 again.
So honestly, it's crazy.
Weird,
It's
so
crazy.
weird. So, all right, I don't want to eat up too much more of your time. I like to do a little dopey speed round at the end.
Oh, great. Bring it
Ready? All right.
here. I'm dope.
All right.
Yeah.
What color M&M tastes the best?
Red
Good choice. Are you soup or a salad person?
soup,
Tea or coffee?
coffee.
Yes. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, Star Trek. Obviously.
Digital or analog?
Oh, analog. Very analog.
Okay. Pick one character from The Expanse that you would want to have a drink with.
Amos.
So I'm assuming that Amos would also be your choice if there was an ensuing barroom brawl.
I mean, drummer, obviously. But if she's Amos, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh yeah, he's the king of a barroom brawl.
Absolutely. Now, who would you want to have with you if you were at a table full of lawyers?
Oh God. With me. If I was at a table full of lawyers, I would want, like in real life, I want Dom,
Right.
but in the show, probably Holden.
Hmm. Interesting. What about at a high stakes blackjack table?
Who would I want with me at a high stakes black? Oh, Abasarala. Yeah, no question.
And who would be the one that you would make awkward excuses to not hang out with?
Yeah. Um, Character.
Yes, character. That person that's like, I don't really like you. I don't want to have a problem with you, but
Yeah. Holden. Fuck that guy. But like, come be my lawyer, I guess.
right. I don't want to party with you, but come be my lawyer.
Bit dry. Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't really be partying with your lawyer. I think that's a bad idea all the way around.
You know what? I'm rethinking some life choices I've made in the past, and I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right.
All right, well, we'll have to save that story for another time, I guess. So that is our show, you beautiful nerds. What a season you guys are in for. I've been your host, Jen Jackalone. Please hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this chat, and check out the link in the description below to follow Cara's socials and keep up on her amazing work. And if you haven't watched all the seasons of The Expanse on Prime yet, what are you even doing with your life? It's been a blast bringing you folks the goodies. Stay hydrated, nerds. Take care. Take it easy. Stay geeky.